Mayday, mayday. Mayday, mayday.
Something vanished here. Something that should never have disappeared. A ship, its crew, its cargo gone, without a trace. What happened on that fateful journey? And why, when it was finally found, was it completely abandoned?
The ocean vast, endless, and unforgiving. It holds secrets in its depths, stories lost to time, whispers of those who sailed into the unknown and never returned. In 1955, a ship set sail from the shores of Samoa. A routine journey across the Pacific. 25 souls aboard, but they were never seen again. 5 weeks later, the ship was found, but not the crew. No distress call. No survivors. No explanation. The ship was named Joyita, meaning little jewel in Spanish. Built in 1931, it was a vessel of elegance and prestige. A luxury yacht crafted for pleasure, designed for comfort. But as time passed, its fate would take a different course. With the outbreak of World War II, Joyita was no longer just a yacht. The U.S. Navy claimed her for wartime service. She became a patrol boat, watching the waters of the Pacific, guarding against unseen threats. A ship built for leisure, transformed for survival. After the war, Joyita was reborn once more. No longer a symbol of luxury, nor a tool of war. Now, she was a merchant vessel, carrying goods and people across the scattered islands of the Pacific. But by 1955, she was aging, weakened, yet still afloat. She had sailed many waters, weathered many storms, and still she endured, until the day she vanished. October 3, 1955. The Joyita is docked in Apia, Samoa. Her destination, Tokelau, a small group of atolls, just 270 miles away. A routine voyage, one she had made before. On board, 16 crew members, 9 passengers, and a cargo of medical supplies, timber, and empty oil drums. At the helm was Captain Thomas Dusty Miller, an experienced seaman, familiar with these waters. He trusted the Joyita, despite her age, despite her history of mechanical failures. He had made this journey before. There was no reason to believe this trip would be any different. But Joyita never reached its destination. The days passed and there was no sign of her. No distress call. No debris. Only silence. The Pacific had swallowed her whole. 5 weeks later, the ocean finally gave up its secret. November 10, 1955. A passing vessel spots something strange on the water. A ship battered and broken, drifting aimlessly. It is the MV Joyita. But there was something even stranger. The ship was abandoned. No crew, no passengers, no lifeboats. The Joyita had not sunk. She had not been destroyed. She was still afloat, a ghost ship with no souls aboard. The investigators searched every inch of the vessel. What they found only deepened the mystery. The radio had been tampered with, its wires cut. The engine was broken. The medical kit was open, blood-stained bandages inside. But no bodies, no clues, only questions. The lifeboats were gone. But why would they abandon ship? The Joyita was still afloat. Her wooden hull, lined with cork, made her unsinkable. Why leave safety for the unknown? Was it piracy? A violent hijacking, leaving no survivors? Was it a mechanical failure, forcing a desperate escape? Or was it something more sinister? Some believe a Japanese submarine was involved, a remnant of the war still lurking beneath the waves. Others whisper of something even darker. The fate of the Joyita remains unknown. The passengers and crew were never found. The ocean keeps its secrets well, but sometimes it lets us glimpse into the past. A ship without a crew, a mystery without an answer, a ghost ship forever adrift on the waters of time. It was a morning like any other. October 3, 1955. In the harbor of Apia, Samoa, The MV Joyita prepared to set sail. The crew experienced. The captain confident. The journey routine. Nothing about that day hinted at the tragedy to come. The Joyita was no stranger to these waters. For years, she had sailed the Pacific, carrying passengers and cargo between the scattered islands. Despite her aging frame and mechanical troubles, she had always made it through. Captain Thomas Dusty Miller knew her well. He trusted her resilience. But the ocean has no memory. It does not care for experience nor reputation. Captain Miller was a man of the sea. He had been through storms. He had faced danger. To him, this was just another voyage. A simple 270-mile journey to the Tokelau Islands. A mere 2-day trip. Nothing to fear. On board, 25 souls. Men, women, even children. Each had their own reason for traveling. Some for work, some for family. None of them knowing they were about to vanish without a trace. The Joyita carried more than just passengers. Her cargo hold was filled with supplies for Tokelau, medical equipment, timber, food, and empty oil drums. Nothing out of the ordinary. But one detail stands out, a cargo load far heavier than usual. The Joyita was old. Over 2 decades of service had left their mark. The engines had been failing. The pipes leaked. Some even called her unseaworthy. But she had something few ships did, buoyancy. Her wooden hull, reinforced with cork, made her virtually unsinkable. Even if she took on water, she would float. Lifeboats were there, safely stowed. A precaution every vessel takes. A precaution that in the days to come would become the center of a chilling mystery. At dawn, the final checks were made. The engines, though unreliable, rumbled to life. The crew secured the ropes. Passengers found their places on deck. The voyage was beginning. As the ship prepared to leave, families waved from the dock. Perhaps some felt a strange sense of unease, a hesitation in their goodbyes. But no one could have known. This was the last time anyone would see the passengers and crew of the Joyita. The first hours of the journey were peaceful. The Pacific stretched endlessly in all directions, a horizon unbroken by land. The crew worked as they always did. The passengers settled in for the voyage. There was no sign of trouble. At 6 a.m., Captain Miller made his first routine radio check. The signal was strong. Everything was in order. The Joyita was on course, heading straight for Tokelau. There was no cause for alarm. But the ocean is unpredictable. And somewhere beyond the horizon, something was waiting. Something that would change the course of history. This was the last transmission ever received from the MV Joyita. At 6 a.m. on October 3rd, she was on course. By the evening, she was gone. No distress signal. No call for help. Just silence. For the next 5 weeks, there was no trace of the Joyita. No wreckage. No survivors. She had simply disappeared. Rescue teams scoured the waters, but found nothing. The Pacific, vast and indifferent, had swallowed her whole. The families waited. The world wondered. But the Joyita was gone. But then 5 weeks later, the Joyita was found. But there was no one on board. No crew. No passengers. The Joyita had returned, but her people were gone. October 3rd, 1955. The MV Joyita was expected to arrive in the Tokelau Islands. A routine journey of just 2 days. But as the sun set on the horizon, something happened. Something no one saw. Something no one could explain. The Joyita was gone. By October 6th, the people of Tokelau knew something was wrong. The ship was overdue. There was no storm, no distress call, no word from Captain Miller or his crew. The silence was deafening. News of the missing vessel spread. Search parties were deployed, scouring the waters between Samoa and Tokelau. Aircraft flew over the sea, scanning for any sign of debris. Ships patrolled the area, hoping to spot survivors. But there was nothing. No wreckage. No floating cargo. No bodies. It was as if the Joyita had disappeared into thin air. For days, the search continued. Hundreds of miles of open water, combed by rescue teams. Yet the ocean yielded no clues. A ship that could not sink. A crew that had vanished. What had happened in those missing hours? The most puzzling fact? The Joyita was designed to stay afloat, even in the worst conditions. She could take on water, but she wouldn't sink. So where was she? Had she been hijacked? Dragged off course? Or had something even stranger happened? Hope began to fade. Every passing day made the chances of survival slimmer. The families of the passengers and crew waited for news. But the only answer they received was silence. 5 weeks later, the ocean finally gave up its secret. November 10th, 1955. A merchant vessel, sailing near Fiji, spotted something strange on the horizon. A ship, half sunk, barely afloat. The name on the side was unmistakable, MV Joyita. But when the rescuers boarded, they found something chilling. There was no one on board. No captain, no crew, no passengers. The Joyita had returned, but her people were gone. Inside the ship, investigators found a scene of confusion. The engine was broken. The radio dismantled, its wires cut. The clocks had all stopped at the same time, 10:25. And then there were the bloodstains. Someone had been hurt, but there were no bodies, no sign of a struggle. Just an empty ship, drifting in the endless Pacific. The lifeboats were gone. Had the crew abandoned ship? But why? The Joyita was still afloat. There was no reason to leave her for the unknown. The last message from the Joyita had given no hint of trouble. No distress call was ever sent. What had happened in those 5 missing weeks? Many theories emerged. Had the ship been attacked by pirates? Hijacked and abandoned? Had a storm forced the crew to flee, believing the ship was sinking? Or was it something even stranger? Some say the Joyita was caught in the aftermath of war, encountering a rogue submarine or secret operation. Others suggest the crew was taken, that they never had a chance to call for help, that they were silenced. But no one knows the truth. No survivors were ever found. No lifeboats, no wreckage, just an empty ship and the ocean's eternal silence. The Joyita was eventually salvaged. Her wooden hull, still strong, refused to sink. She was repaired, given new life. But the mystery of her disappearance remained. The Pacific never gave up her secret. Today, the fate of the Joyita remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries of all time. What happened in those dark waters on that fateful night? No one knows, and perhaps no one ever will. November 10th, 1955. After 5 weeks lost at sea, the MV Joyita was found. But when rescuers boarded, they found no survivors, no bodies, no signs of life. The ship had returned, but her crew had not. As investigators stepped aboard, they were met with a scene of confusion. The ship was damaged but still afloat. Her hull, filled with buoyant cork, made her impossible to sink. And yet, the crew and passengers had abandoned her. What could have driven 25 people to leave a ship that was still seaworthy? What could have happened in those lost weeks at sea? The ship's interior held clues, small, unsettling details that only deepened the mystery. The engine was broken, its pipes leaking fuel. The radio had been tampered with, its wiring intentionally cut. The ship's clocks had all stopped at exactly 10:25. Bloodstains on a bandage hinted at injury. But who had been hurt? And where was the body? The logbook, which should have detailed the ship's final hours, was missing pages. If Captain Miller had written any last words, they had been lost forever. The biggest mystery of all, the lifeboats were missing. Had the crew abandoned ship voluntarily, or had they been forced to leave? The Joyita had drifted over 600 miles from her intended route. With a broken engine, she had been left at the mercy of the currents. But why had no one seen her for 5 weeks? And more importantly, where were her passengers? The authorities launched an official investigation. Maritime experts, naval officers, and forensic teams examined every inch of the Joyita, searching for an explanation. The possibilities were endless. Pirates? A violent storm? A mechanical failure? Or something more sinister? Over the years, theories emerged. Some logical, some terrifying, each one trying to explain what had happened aboard the Joyita. The Pacific is known for its sudden storms. Could the Joyita have been caught in a violent squall? Did a massive wave flood the ship, forcing the crew to flee? But there was a problem with this theory. The Joyita was still afloat. She had not sunk. If a storm had hit, why abandon a ship that could not be drowned? The ship's engine was in bad condition. The pipes leaked fuel. Carbon monoxide could have poisoned the crew. Or perhaps, with the engine dead and the radio cut, the crew panicked. Fearing the ship was sinking, they took the lifeboats. If they had abandoned ship, they would have been left helpless in the open ocean. The Pacific is unforgiving. If they drifted too far, they may have been lost forever. Another chilling theory suggests something darker. Pirates, or worse, human traffickers. Had the Joyita been hijacked? Were the passengers and crew taken, leaving the ship behind? If pirates had boarded the Joyita, they could have taken the crew and left the ship to drift. The missing lifeboats suggest a forced departure. But again, why no distress call? A more conspiratorial theory suggests that the Joyita stumbled upon something it wasn't meant to see, perhaps a secret military operation. Could the crew have been silenced? Some believe the ship crossed paths with a military vessel or a classified experiment. The theory is chilling, but there is no proof. The MV Joyita remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries of all time. No bodies were ever recovered. No distress signal was ever sent. No one knows what happened in those 5 lost weeks. To this day, the fate of the passengers and crew remains unknown. The Pacific guards its secrets well, and the Joyita has never told hers. A ship found abandoned, 25 people missing, no distress call, no lifeboats, no bodies, just an empty vessel drifting, waiting to be discovered. The Joyita's return only deepened the mystery. What happened to her crew? Over the years, theories have emerged, each attempting to explain the impossible. Some grounded in reason, others far more unsettling. From natural disasters to human intervention, from tragic mistakes to dark conspiracies, the story of the Joyita has sparked decades of speculation. Let's explore the theories and what they reveal about the haunting fate of this ghost ship. One of the most logical theories is that of a desperate crew, fearing their ship was doomed. The Joyita was found with her hull damaged, her engine broken, and her bilge pumps out of order. The ship had been taking on water. Could the crew have panicked, believing she was sinking? A slow flood creeping in below deck could have convinced the passengers to evacuate. But there's one problem with this theory. The Joyita could not sink. She was made of cork-lined wood, a ship built to stay afloat even in the worst conditions. Even half filled with water, she would have remained buoyant. So why would they abandon her? Another possibility. Had there been a conflict aboard? Mutiny is a tale as old as the sea. Disputes between crew and captain have led to disaster countless times in maritime history. Could the same have happened on the Joyita? Captain Thomas Miller was a seasoned sailor, but some accounts describe him as difficult, even temperamental. If the ship was experiencing mechanical failures, could the crew have turned against him? Could there have been a fight, a violent struggle that led to an emergency evacuation? The bloodied bandages found on board suggest that someone was hurt. But was it an accident or something more sinister? If there was mutiny, the outcome remains unknown. No one ever surfaced to tell the tale. No bodies, no survivors, no sign of what happened after they left the ship. Piracy is not just a story of the past. Even in the 1950s, the waters around the Pacific were not safe. Could the Joyita have fallen victim to a pirate attack? If pirates had attacked, the crew and passengers could have been forced to abandon ship, taken as captives, or worse. The ship itself was stripped of valuable equipment, the radio, the navigation tools. Had they been stolen? Or had the crew sabotaged their own communication to prevent being found? If pirates were involved, then what became of the passengers? Were they taken? Killed? Left to drift in the endless ocean? No ransom was ever demanded. No bodies were found. If this was the work of criminals, they erased their tracks completely. Some believe the Joyita stumbled into something it was never meant to see, something that led to its crew's disappearance. Whispers of wartime secrets and lost submarines haunt the case. Had the Joyita come across the remnants of a secret operation? Some theorists suggest the ship encountered a rogue submarine or a hidden military experiment. Could the crew have been silenced to keep a secret buried beneath the waves? No proof has ever surfaced. Just speculation, theories, and the eerie silence of the Pacific. No one knows what happened to the people aboard the Joyita. The Pacific Ocean is vast and merciless. If they abandoned ship, their fate was sealed the moment they stepped into the unknown. Lifeboats can drift for weeks until hunger, thirst, and exhaustion claim their passengers. Did they fall victim to the elements? Did they reach an island only to succumb to the wilderness? Or were they taken never to be heard from again? The MV Joyita remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries of all time. Theories may offer possibilities, but the truth has been lost to the deep, and the Pacific keeps her secrets well.